Start your week smiling with your friends, Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. It's time to get ready for some weekly motivation with WP Motivate. Happy Friday, Kathy.
TGIF. Happy
Oh
Friday,
my
Michelle.
gosh. You know, that TGIF has never resonated as much with me as it does today. It has been one hell of a week. How about you?
Well, we just spoke a little bit, and I think I
Yeah.
ranted for like 2 minutes straight about everything I'm dealing with. It's
Yeah,
been,
so
and every time I try to record videos, my neighbor mows, and he's got like the riding mower, and then he's got the push mower, and it's like, you just did that section. Out. I'm trying to
move to
record
the
over
other side
here.
of the house.
Please, just for 10 minutes. I just like will need to re-record this one part.
Yeah.
So like that's going on. Stuff is not downloading from places. Technology is on my last runner, and I think a few people are. So,
Yeah,
and
same.
situations have been stressful. So I'm TGIFing pretty hard right now.
Yeah, and I am 100% there with you. I mean, anybody that knows me and follows me online has seen what this past week has been like for me.
Yeah.
And I will say, like I've said to more than one person, I did it to myself. Because I like to remind the community that it needs to be fair and balanced, that it
Yeah.
needs to have representation. And
Yes.
sometimes that means that you're going to all of a sudden have a giant target on you, and that people who feel threatened by equality, equity, inclusion, belonging, diversity, those people are going to counterattack. And I wouldn't say counterattack because what I did wasn't even an attack, it was an observation and a hope, literally an
Yes.
observation and a hope. And the very, one of the first responses was to call me prejudiced. Another person said I was demonizing white men. Other people are now saying that I've accused people of being sexist. I never have done any of those things. I've dated white men. I was married to one. My brothers, my father was, I mean, like, it's just ridiculous, right? Like, I am so inclusive. I am so embracing. Yeah, I could just go on and on about that. But
I love white men. I do. My son is a
yeah,
white man. I'm married to a
mhm,
white man. I've got
yeah,
I but it's not like like I prefer to like only talk to like it's
yeah.
I don't think
Here-
that is the issue, but there have been many instances in my life where I have been where I end up being a spectator. Well, I don't know if it's like locker room, like they want to talk more in the locker
mhm,
room, and I end up being like more of a spectator than a participant.
yeah,
And I'm not going to participate. You don't want me around, you don't want my contribution, I have nothing of value to offer.
mhm,
Okay, I'll go someplace else where I do feel valued. And
yeah,
that's going to happen to more and more communities if people don't like just step aside, step back from where their connections are happening. And this is not to say that like white guys can't do the locker room thing, but if there's people on the periphery that are just spectators, it's up to everyone if you're seeing a locker room moment happening to like turn to the side and say, "Come on in."
yeah, exactly.
What's your experience with this? What's your experience?
Mhm,
Do you have you had this experience? I will say that there are, I've watched what's happened with your Twitter experience, and I try not to read the people
negative.
who are letting their filters or letting their perception or their trigger or their reaction be what they lead with. I am celebrating those who are making their observations too and contributing to a conversation because I think
Mhm,
that it's worth having. It's a conversation
yeah.
worth having.
And there are ways to disagree with me without demonizing
Oh,
me, right? Like you
yeah.
can
Yeah.
say, and I will say, so some people have said to me, Michelle, diversity looks different in Europe than it does in the United States. I can agree to that. It does look different in Europe than it does in the United States. However, and this is the big however, our flagship events are not local events. They are global events. And I think they
Right,
should be
true.
held to global standards of diversity. And if somebody with a face that doesn't look like yours says, I don't see myself represented there, or I don't see myself represented enough there, you should listen to that, because your white male face isn't noticing the things that my female face does, that other people's ethnic minority faces see,
Yeah.
that other people's LGBTQ status minority sees. Like there are, and I made an observation absolutely purely based on names and faces. I am
Yeah.
happy. I will be incredibly happy if I hear that some of those people are actually diverse in other ways. Great. That is wonderful. That would be awesome. But instead of saying, oh, we're going to publish statistics on that, so you'll be able to see that it's not always observable. Great. So show me some statistics. That's not what happened. I got called prejudiced. And I got told to just wait. And I will tell you, like, my stomach has been in knots a lot this week, because I don't think people remember that I'm a human being too, right? And that the way they talk to me is they're talking to a human being. And yeah, I've got thick skin and broad shoulders, but damn it, it's going to need a little bit of boundary keeping and self care for myself, because I have blocked a few people this week. And anybody knows I don't block people easily on Twitter, because I'm all about open discussion. But when all you do is continue to hammer at me about how wrong I am and accuse me of things that I haven't done, you've earned
Yeah,
yourself
it's tough.
a big old block. And then to be told by other people, oh, that person is saying things about you on their account now that you've blocked them. I'm like, I can't control what other people think of me. I
No.
also don't care. Like, if that person is so racist and so misogynist, they don't like me. Well, I guess I did something right, because I spoke out against the things that they disagree with, right? I spoke out against who
Yeah.
their core person is. And if their core person is a racist misogynist, then by all means enjoy being blocked, because I'm not going to engage further. And you can have conversations with the other misogynists and the other racists about what a horrible person I am for wanting equality. Go for it. I don't really give a crap anymore. I don't need to
This
be
really
I
underscores
don't need to be everybody's darling. It's okay if you don't
Yeah.
like me. It really is. Anyway, sorry I interrupted you.
it underscores something that and you know, I I have a hard time talking about race, and I'll go on gender. Like if I'm like the sole woman in a male room
Sure.
and I'm the spectator, I'll go on
Yeah.
about that because I feel I can speak. I don't feel like I can speak about race because I'm just hello, very
A white
European, right?
right. I
I'm
mean, I am too,
yeah,
right? But
yeah.
I have
But
projects
it,
though, which is different.
yes, you do, and you're closer, right?
Mhm.
Your daughter
She's
is
biracial.
half black and she's biracial, and
Yes.
so you know, I feel like you can speak to it because you're closer to it. I don't feel like I can, but if I see somebody like we had someone in the Cadence Facebook group who said something about diversity and he got attacked, and I stood up for him because I didn't feel like they were making it wasn't fair. So
Right.
if I see a specific situation, but I feel very so I have a hard time putting myself out there as a spokesperson, but I will celebrate those who do.
Yeah.
But it does underscore those of us who take a risk wherever they feel comfortable taking a risk, where they feel like empowered to, like you are. When you take a risk like that and you speak your mind and you speak your observations, especially in something that's like got such a heated why is everybody so hot about I thought we were over this, first of all, but you run the risk of like being attacked. You run the risk
Hmm.
of abrasiveness happening, and it's so hard. You have to protect yourself if you're going to be in this, if you're going to speak your mind like this. If you're going to put out music, if you're going to make videos, if you're going to write anything, if you are going to put yourself into the world, there are going to be people who say that it is crap, that say
Hmm.
that you are wrong, that fight you, that block you and say bad things about you. This is going to
Hmm.
happen if you are a trailblazer and you are changing things. How do you
Yep.
protect yourself?
True. Yep.
How do you protect yourself?
Me personally, I try not to look at Twitter sometimes.
Yeah.
So like I always have my phone nearby and I love to engage with people on Twitter, but this week has been hard for me. So I've been trying to set my phone down and walk away from it. I binged the 6 episode Bridgerton, The Queen's Journey, or whatever it was called, Queen Charlotte.
Oh
I
yeah.
binged that this week, right? I looked at that. I have been planning my weekend so that I am tomorrow morning getting a manicure and with a friend, and then in the afternoon I'm going to go out with my camera and take pictures because I love birds and I love to be outside, and even though I don't get outside my car often because travel, walking is difficult, things like that, but at least getting out there in the sunshine and having the opportunity to commune with nature and the things that I enjoy. And then Sunday is Mother's Day, and I'm just gonna enjoy time with family because
Awesome.
Monday is gonna come and it's gonna start right back up again. But yeah, we definitely need to not only self-care but build the boundaries, right? So
Yeah.
like I said, I hate blocking people. I really like to be open for discourse, but if you're going to continue to attack me, I'm going to have to block you because I am a human being with mental health and I want my mental health to stay positive. I don't want to start to feel bad because people hate me and that kind of stuff. And I try to develop this mindset over the years that like I said, I'm not everybody's cup of tea and I'm okay with that. But to attack somebody, it's like there are people I could take or leave, right? Like, oh, it's nice to meet you, blah, blah, blah. And then like a month later, you're like, don't even remember meeting them. That's fine. You don't have to remember meeting me. You don't have to like me. But to openly attack me means that I have to put up a fence. I have to put up a wall. I have to put up a boundary because I am a human being with feelings. And so putting up those
Yeah.
boundaries, I think, is super important.
Oh, it is.
Because,
How are you going to,
yeah,
if you take anything? Well, the thing is, okay, so you've got the stimulus that comes in, somebody says something or somebody blocks you, something happens, this
right.
annoying thing happens. And
Yes.
so Viktor Frankl talks about we put a buffer zone between our stimulus, the thing, our response. Like
Mm-hmm.
we get to choose how we respond, and how we respond to these types of stimuli are the defining moments of our life. It's the story you're going to tell yourself in your head. So, you can tell yourself the story of, screw these guys. They're just, whatever story you tell yourself, we can choose what story that's going to be. So if we choose a story of this is just going to happen. This is just part of me being a trailblazer. This is part of me putting myself out
Mm-hmm.
there. This is part of me making changes. There's going to be people that hate it. And I am willing, because I believe in this, no matter what, I'm going to do it anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
they are going to be drowned out by the people who are supporting me. And they're going to be drowned
Mm-hmm.
out by the fact that diversity is going to be considered much more, and that
Right.
accommodation for accessibility is going, because you've been
Mm-hmm.
vocal about that too. You've been vocal
Right.
about the things that you believe in, and you've
Mm-hmm.
had flack for it. But
Yep.
I think the flack is, I think the story we need to tell ourselves when we're in a situation like this is par for the course. This is what happens when you change the world. I look at my daughter's really into Taylor Swift right now. So she's like been an example, watching this absolutely adorable young woman take on the world. And her music has been sold to someone she hates. Like all of these things happen. And she is still just rising above it. And none of that
Mhm.
other stuff is going to matter, because what are people going to remember? They're going to they're going to remember the difference that you made in people's
Mhm.
lives.
I hope so.
They're going to remember the difference that Taylor Swift, rising above all. It's
Yeah.
just so inspirational to me, because it's like none of this stuff is going to matter in the long run. But when you're
Mhm.
soaking in it, like this week, it's
Yeah.
like, ugh.
Yeah.
But maybe we can Taylor Swift it and like shake it off. maybe
Yeah,
we
that'd
can,
be good. I
maybe we
mean, I'd
write
like a
songs
hot
about it.
I'd like a nice hot bath in hot water with like maybe some lavender or something. I'm done like soaking in the sewage this week.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel
It's hot.
ya.
It's hot too, but it's really stinky and it's so not good for you.
It
You
definitely
know?
isn't. But I think time will tell you the story, that the difference that you're making. I mean, you've had many people in the community looking at your conversation, looking at what you've said. Well, here's the thing, just from my perspective, is like you just make an observation, but
Mhm.
the observation got like other people's stimulus. That became other people's stimulus, and their
Mhm.
response says way more about them than it says about you. But
Mhm.
you have many people in the community talking about this,
Mhm.
and you're elevating it to another level. Like I remember WordCamp Miami. Do you remember when it was, I think it was 2019, and it was like 51% of the speakers were women.
Mm. I don't
And
remember this.
I think it was when I spoke, I think.
That's
But
nice.
David Bissett he makes that a priority. It's a
Mhm.
priority. Um,
Yes.
and this whole idea of merit, I've seen some things about merit. Um, if you have two people of equal merit, two people who have the same stories to tell, two people who have the same um, depth of experience to bring to the table, and you have a speaker lineup, it behooves the people who are organizing to bring in someone with diversity in mind, whether it's
Yes.
women or someone from a different
Mhm.
background or uh,
Right.
just a different cultural perspective. And this means like if you're organizing in another place where, white people really are a minority, like bring some white people in, just
Mhm. Yeah,
balancing
absolutely.
out because WordPress it is a global phenomenon with a global market that we have, you know,
Yes.
different perspectives. This is the things that gets me is like and one of the things that I am really getting fired up about with WordPress right now is WordPress. Our community has kind of been like our community, and we've got people who've been in the community for 10 years and people who have been telling like the same stories and stuff. And it's like I am now conversing with people in different communities. And the freakiest thing to me is like, why is everybody using Showit? What the heck is Showit? I've never
I don't
even
even
heard of this
know.
as a WordPress competitor, but people are
Mm-mm.
building websites with something that I would have never seen if I stayed in WordPress and just kept talking to people here.
Mhm.
We need not only diversity in terms of like people's backgrounds, but diversity in terms of what people are doing online. Because
Mhm.
if we just keep talking WordPress and WordPress's problems and why is Jetpack on my site again, and like all of
Mhm.
like the standard complaints you hear from people who have been using WordPress forever, we're never going to innovate. Innovation is going to
Right.
come from different perspectives, different
Mhm.
backgrounds, different cultural backgrounds, and different ways of publishing online and different
Right.
objectives of doing things online. So
Mhm.
it's not even diversity culturally or heritage or gender. I think our diversity, I'm just coming up with this off the top of my
Yeah.
head, but I think our diversity issues in WordPress are
Yeah.
reflective of a greater diversity problem where we
Mhm.
have become, I think, a little too, and I love this community. I really
Me
do.
too.
I want to
Absolutely.
see it. I want to see it grow. I want to see it better. And I want to see different perspectives and different people who've never used WordPress see what this is about. How can this better their voices online? And I think that we need that. So I think that
Mhm.
maybe this conversation is reflective of something greater that we all need to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, for
Soapbox.
sure. I know I'm on my soapbox a lot this week for sure, but one of the things that I'm really focused on is not just the fact that we need diversity and, across genders, across, representation, all the things that we talk about in underrepresentation. But if we're going to continue to grow WordPress for the next generations, our focus can't be on what it looks like now. It has to be what it needs to look like. I think, my daughter's 31 and she's almost older than the demographic I'm talking about, but she's socially motivated. She will look at two equal products and say, which one isn't, testing on animals or isn't, you know, using slave labor or children's labor or whatever labor in their country. When she and her husband looked for diamond rings, they made sure it was an ethically sourced diamond, not a blood diamond. Like all of these things,
Yeah.
and she's just one person, but the next generation after her even is more focused on right. And yes, of course, there are still going to be racists in every generation. There are still going to be misogynists. There's still going to be ableists and sizeists and sexists and just everything, right? But by and large, those generations coming after us are looking at our generation saying, oh my God, they're so messed up. Like, why are we only showing white men, or why are we only showing white people, or why is it only 25% female when we know that there's more than just male, there's women and non-binary? Why are these things not mattering? And so I think that we're going to shoot ourselves in the foot if we don't pay serious attention to how representation matters within our communities.
Yeah.
And our flagship events are the best place to see that, or not.
Yeah. And and to do it for the right reasons,
Absolutely.
not do it because I can sense like certain brands, just not in the world, not just WordPress, but certain brands who try to use diversity, but it doesn't, like they paint their picture of diversity, but then their
Mhm.
actions don't speak to, like they're faking it. And I hate
Mhm.
that, because you can tell
Mhm.
it's like, all right, you're just trying to get clicks or likes, or
Oh yeah.
you can see right through it. So brands that are out there, even beyond WordPress, don't just be real about it, and don't
Yeah.
try to like fake it. It's because we smell it.
Yeah, for sure. We do. And this week our episode may not be the sunshiny like things, our favorite things, and motivational stuff, but motivation doesn't just have to come from sunshine and flowers and rainbows and kittens and the things that are fun to do. Sometimes motivation has to come from a place of discomfort. Change comes from a place of discomfort,
Yeah.
and it's those things like my my desk chair is killing me. I am so motivated right now to get a new desk chair because I need to be kinder to my sciatica. Yes, that means my ass hurts and I need a new chair, right? So I'm not going to buy a chair if my chair is comfortable. I'm motivated out of discomfort. And the same thing
Yeah.
is true about how we're motivated to action. If we're happy with the status quo, great. But if enough people are telling you that they're not happy with the status quo, we need to listen to that, because as a community, we need to make those decisions together.
Yes,
So
indeed. And comfort zones kill. Don't
they
get too
do.
comfortable.
No,
You
exactly.
got to constantly be pushing yourself, and watch that with my husband right now, in terms of just like he wants to be comfortable. And I'm sorry if he continues to be comfortable and trying to move towards comfort, it's
Mhm.
eventually going to kill him. I'll just be
Yes.
blatantly
Yeah.
obvious that, there are certain things happening with his physiology right now where comfort zones really do kill. It's not a
Mhm.
platitude. So pushing yourself out of comfort zones, pushing yourselves to get into new environments where you have new perspectives, pushing yourself where it might hurt and be uncomfortable and not feel right. But if you want your life to be better, you have to move out of the comfort
Mhm.
zone. Otherwise, there's this dichotomy of, or it comes in on the same coin, sort of like the yin yang thing, where you
Mhm.
have, if you go too comfortable, life gets harder. And if you do the
Mhm.
hard things, life gets easier, because your comfort zone is someplace else. It's someplace different.
Absolutely.
So pushing
Yep.
yourself out of comfort zones, and pushing your, and that locker room thing might be just like people who have insecurities and have issues with, accepting new ideas because it makes them feel uncomfortable. Well, guess what?
Mhm.
If you can put that discomfort aside and let in new perspectives, it's going to
Mhm.
make your life maybe a little bit harder in the short run, but the long run is greater innovation and greater success for us all. And that's going to lead to a better community altogether and a better
Absolutely.
environment. So,
Mhm. Absolutely. I have a family member right now who I had to take for some tests on Tuesday. He's got congestive heart failure, COPD, emphysema, and now they're testing him for lung cancer. He hasn't smoked in over 20 years, but he's smoked for over 40 years. And you can't expect to make late changes and react after the damage is done. You have to be proactive in your health, and we have to be proactive in the health of a community as well.
yep.
Because
Yes.
if we don't, those cancers will become
Yep.
evident years later. So I'm just going
Yep.
to leave it at that and say, I think that as a community, we need to hold ourselves accountable. We need to hold each other accountable. And as a community, we need to do better.
Yeah.
So,
It's for the good.
it is.
This is
I love
insular
this
communities
community.
die. Yeah. And if it's too insular and if it's too much just the
Echo
same old
chamber.
all the
Hmm.
time, if you keep
Yeah.
yourself comfortable and don't allow new perspectives,
Hmm.
communities stagnate. And I think the health of WordPress depends upon a healthy community.
Absolutely.
IMHO.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for the conversation. It's been a rough week, but having friends that I can talk to and vent to and that I know are in my corner is incredibly helpful. So thank you very much.
Always. Good to talk to
Well,
you.
yeah, you too. We'll see y'all next week where we'll talk about maybe something happier, but time will tell. Until then, bye.
Bye.
This has been WP Motivate with Kathy Zant and Michelle Frechette. To learn more or to sponsor us, go to WPMotivate.com.